When 23 people were dying in the village of Kuwala, one woman saved them all. She used forbidden magic, ancient rituals, dark powers that demanded payment. And the payment was her entire existence. Not her life, her existence. She stood before her village and told them, "I will erase myself from reality to close the door I opened." And she did. But then the village made a second choice. A choice that haunted them for 17 years. Before we dive into this story, if you love deep emotional stories like this, hit that subscribe button. This is a story that needs to be heard. The pre-dawn mist wrapped itself around the village like a shroud, clinging to thatched roofs and curling through narrow pathways. In the center stood an ancient baobab tree, its massive trunk scarred with old carvings, some clear and deep, others deliberately scratched away until only ghost marks remain. Crows circled overhead, their harsh calls breaking the oppressive quiet. Children born after the incident grew up sensing something wrong. They noticed how no one walked past the old healer's abandoned compound after sunset, how their mothers clutched protective charms when the wind blew from the eastern hills, and how the name Tembeka was never spoken aloud, though it appeared in faded carvings on the baobab tree. Mama Zola had been keeping the secret longer than most. She was a woman in her 70s, her silver-straighted hair wrapped in an indigo cloth, her face a map of wrinkles. On this particular morning, as the first rooster announced the dawn, she stood at her doorway, watching the mist curl around the baobab tree, and she knew with the certainty of old bones that the day of reckoning had finally arrived. As the sun climbed higher, Kuwala came alive with daily rhythms. Women balanced water pots on their heads, their colorful wraps creating moving patterns through the compound. Men gathered under acacia trees to sharpen tools. Children chased each other between huts, their laughter bright but somehow restrained, as if they'd learned early not to make too much noise. Kuwala had everything a community needed: skilled farmers, talented weavers, wise elders, and gifted storytellers. Yet something essential was missing, like a drum circle with one drummer perpetually silent. Nalidi, a young woman of 20, with keen eyes and restless energy, had been noticing these gaps more and more. She wore yellow and brown that morning, copper bangles jangling on her wrist as she ground millet with other women. But her attention kept drifting to the abandoned compound on the village's eastern edge, a place everyone else deliberately ignored. She had been 3 years old when it happened. She carried no conscious memory of the event, only a phantom sensation of her mother's arms suddenly tightening around her, a collective gasp that seemed to echo through time, and then nothing. Mama, Nalidi had asked just last week, why do we have a healer's compound if no healer lives there? Her mother, Ayo, had dropped the calabash she was carrying. Some questions are better left unasked, my daughter. But Nalidi was her father's child, Jabari, the village's most respected elder, who had taught her that knowledge was the ancestors' greatest gift to the living. That morning, the village council met under the great baobab tree. 12 elders sat in a semicircle on low wooden stools, their faces solemn. Jabari sat at the center, distinguished by the leopard skin band around his upper arm. The meeting carried unusual tension. They all knew why they truly gathered. Brothers, sisters, Jabari began. The time has come to speak of things long buried. 17 years we have carried this weight, believing we were protecting the village. But secrets are like termites in the foundation of a hut invisible until the whole structure collapses. We swore an oath, then it interrupted, his voice raw. We swore to the ancestors that what happened would never be spoken of. I would honor the greater oath, Jabari replied steadily. The one we took when we accepted leadership to guide our people in truth, not fear. While the elders debated, Naledi made a decision that would crack open the sealed vessel of the past. She had been dreaming lately, vivid dreams of a woman with kind eyes and hands that moved like birds in flight, mixing herbs in a clay bowl. The woman would smile at Naledi, then point toward something behind her. Every time Naledi turned to look, she would wake gasping. The dreams always featured the same background: the interior of the healer's compound. That afternoon, while her mother was at the market and her father still in council, Naledi walked alone through tall grass toward the abandoned structure. The path was overgrown but still visible. The compound itself had surrendered to nature, vines climbing walls, grass covering the once swept yard. She pushed aside the remnants of the old hide curtain and stepped inside. The interior was larger than expected, a main room with a cold fire pit, shelves still holding clay vessels, and dried bundles of herbs now crumbling to powder. Everything covered in 17 years of dust. The air held the scent of time itself, making the hair on her arms stand up. On the eastern wall, someone had painted a mural now faded to ghost line, a gathering of people with joined hands. In the center, a woman stood alone, her painted hands raised as if in blessing or warning. In the corner, Naledi discovered a wooden chest carved with protective symbols. Inside, wrapped in cloth the color of old bones, she found a collection of bark papers sewn together with sinew, covered in careful handwriting. What Naledi is about to read will change everything. But first, are you team keep it a secret or team tell the truth? Drop your answer in the comments. Now, let's see what the journal says. The first page held only a name and a date, Tembeka's record. The year of the red moon. Nali's breath caught. Here it was, the name that was never spoken, written in confident strokes by the bearer's own hand. She began to read. The early entries were mundane, Rogel's healing work, notes on herbs and seasons. She read of a woman who had been Kuwala's healer for 12 years, who loved her work and her village with equal devotion. Then the entries changed. The sickness came from the east like a thief in the night. First, old Baba Coffee began coughing blood. Then the twins in Mama Furaha's compound. Then Tendai's youngest son. I treated them with everything I knew, but the sickness laughed at my remedies. It spread like fire in dry grass. Naledi's hands tightened on the pages. She had never heard of a sickness sweeping through Kuwala. 23 people fell ill. I barely slept, moving from compound to compound. The ancestors were silent. I could not hear their guidance, no matter how I prayed. In my desperation, I did something I had sworn never to do. I consulted the forbidden texts, the ones that spoke of healing through darker means. I found a ritual, an old practice from the time before time. It promised healing, but the price was substantial. I performed the ritual under the dark moon. I used my own blood, my own life force. I called not to our ancestors, but to older powers. I offered 3 years of my own life in exchange for the healing of the 23. The sick were healed. By dawn, they began to recover. By the next afternoon, all 23 were laughing, eating, living. I felt triumphant. But magic always demands its full price. I aged 3 years in that single night. My black hair turned gray. Lines appeared on my face. My hands developed a tremor. And that was only the beginning. Darkness had fallen outside. Naledi continued reading, unaware she was no longer alone. 3 days after the healing, strange things began. Crops withered overnight. Animals grew skittish. People reported nightmares of something hungry. I understood then what I had done. The old powers wanted more continued tribute, continued sacrifice. I had opened a door that should have remained closed. I went before the village council and confessed everything. There was only one way to close what I had opened. I had to give back what I stole. Not just the 3 years, but everything. My entire life force offered willingly to seal the doorway forever. And the sick were healed. Mama Zola's voice spoke from the darkness, making Naledi cry out and drop the journal. If this story is giving you chills, smash that like button. We're about to learn what really happened 17 years ago. Oil lamps were lit around the interior. The council of elders filed in one by one, their faces carved from sorrow and time. They arranged themselves around the cold fire pit, forming a circle. Jabari entered last, carrying dried sage. We were going to tell her eventually. So Mama Zola said to Jabari, "That's why we gathered today." The secret was growing too heavy. Jabari nodded, his eyes on his daughter. We decided this morning that silence had to end. We were going to call a village assembly tonight, but you found the truth first. Sit down, little one, Mama Zola said gently. It's time you learned why we whispered around the truth for 17 years. Naledi sat, clutching the journal to her chest like a shield, her heart pounding. Thembega was my sister's daughter, Mama Zola began, her voice taking on the storyteller's cadence. She was our healer, trained from childhood. She had gentle hands and a kind heart, perhaps too kind. When the sickness came, it devastated us. 23 people lay dying in 1 week. Neighboring villages closed their borders. We were alone with our suffering. Tendai took up the story. My son was among the sick. 5 years old, burning with fever, unable to breathe. I watched him dying, and I would have done anything to save him. When Tembeka saved him, I didn't save him. I just wanted him alive. None of us asked how. Mama Chioma added, we just celebrated. For 3 days, we lived in joy. Then the signs began. Withered crops, frightened animals, nightmares. And Tembeka suddenly looked 20 years older. Mama Zola continued. On the 3rd night, Tembeka came before the council. She told us everything, forbidden ritual, the old powers, the door she'd open, and the only way to... Ayo stepped forward from the doorway, from her tears streaming. I was there that night. The entire village gathered at the baobab tree, while Tembeka told us she was going to erase herself from existence to save us. What do you mean, erase herself? Naledi whispered. She had to give back everything, Jabari says, voice breaking. Her entire life force to close the door. A life for 23 lives. Her existence for their continued existence. She stood before us at midnight. Mama Chioma whispered. She carved her name into the tree first, so she wouldn't be forgotten. Then she performed the final ritual. We watched her fade like smoke dispersing in wind. One moment flesh and blood, the next gone. Not dead, no body to bury, just erased, as if she'd never been born. Dawn. The silence was broken only by weeping. Mama Zola crying openly, Tendai's shoulders shaking, Ayo sobbing. With her disappearance, Jabari continued. The hungry powers retreated, scraps recovered, nightmares stopped. The village was safe, but we were left with this terrible knowledge that a good woman had erased herself to save us. We made a decision that night. Mamazola said, we decided to keep her sacrifice secret, especially from children too young to understand. We told ourselves we were protecting them. We scratched her name from the tree, closed her compound, agreed never to speak of it. We made her a ghost, a whisper, a blank space. But we were wrong, ghosts and sacrifice, by letting people forget. Instead, we dishonored her. We turned her sacrifice by letting people forget. Instead, we dishonored her. We turned her sacrifice into shame, and we created a different kind of haunting. The secret itself became the specter that walked among. Naledi looked at each elder through her tears. She saved 23 people, and you erased her as if she never existed. We were cowards, Mamazola said simply. We disguised our cowardice as protection. We were afraid of questions, afraid of explaining the old magic, afraid speaking of it might call it back. So we chose silence, and silence became its own prison. Naledi turned to her father. You taught me that truth was sacred, but you kept this from me. I am ashamed, my daughter, Jabari said. We all are. That's why we gathered today. We couldn't carry this weight anymore. We were going to tell Tembeka's story tonight, to honor her properly at last. But you found the truth before we could share it. Naledi opened the journal again, reading aloud the final entry. If you're reading this, then I am gone, and I pray my people are safe. I don't know if what I'm about to do is brave or foolish. I only know it must be done. I made a terrible mistake, and I must unmake it at any cost. To whoever finds these words, please don't let my memory be swallowed by shame or fear. I want to be remembered for my love. I love these people more than my own existence. That love is the truest magic I ever worked. And if you are young and reading this, seeking answers your elders fear to voice, know this: every person around you carries wounds you cannot see, bears burdens you cannot imagine. Be patient with them, be kind, and when you become an elder, remember, truth delayed is not protection. It is only postponement of pain, and postponed pain always grows sharper with time. May the ancestors guide you. May you learn from my mistakes. May you be braver and wiser than those I leave behind. The silence that followed was broken only by weeping from some elders and Naledi alike. Finally, Naledi stood. We're going to fix this. Tonight, all of us, we're going to honor her properly. Within an hour, the entire village gathered at the baobab tree carrying lamps and torches. Every man, woman, and child stood in concentric circles around the massive trunk. The full moon hung bright overhead, washing everything in silver light. Jabari stood at the tree's base, where Tembeka's scratched-out name was barely visible. He held a carving tool. 17 years ago, his voice carried across the gathering. This village was saved by a woman whose name we tried to erase. Tonight, we restore her to memory. Tonight, we restore her to memory. Tonight, we honor her sacrifice. Tonight, we promise to teach our children the truth about courage, mistake, redemption, and love. He began to carve, each letter deep and true. Thembaha, then shone fresh and clear in the lamplight. One by one, the elders told the story, passing the narrative from voice to voice. Mamazola spoke of Tembeka, the child. Tendai spoke of Tembeka, the healer, who had saved his son from snakebite years before the sickness. Ayo spoke of Tembeka, the friend who had helped deliver Naledi with gentle hands. Then they told the harder parts, the sickness, the desperate ritual, the mistake, the hungry powers, the final sacrifice. The younger generation listened with faces showing shock, sorrow, understanding, respect. Their questions were written on their faces, but they listened without interrupting. "We kept this secret believing we were protecting you," Mama Chioma said, addressing the young people. "But in our silence, we dishonored the woman who gave everything. We turned her sacrifice into shame instead of celebration. We were wrong, and we ask your forgiveness." Naledi stepped forward, holding the journal high. Thembeka left us her words. She left us her truth. She asked us not to let her be swallowed by fear. She asked us to remember her love. She read aloud Thembeka's final message. As she read, the wind picked up, carrying the scent of healing herbs, sage and lavender, and something sweeter. The torches flickered but didn't go out. The moonlight seemed to brighten. When Naledi finished, Mama Zola began to sing an also song of thanks. One by one, other voices joined until the entire village sang together, their voices rising toward the stars. People began to move spontaneously. Women danced, first the morning dance, then transforming into celebration. Men drummed rhythms that spoke of loss and gratitude, sorrow and hope. Children gathered stones and carried them to the tree's base, creating a memorial site. Each stone represented a life saved, a memory restored, a truth finally spoken. As dawn approached, the village quiet. The singing softened to humming, then silence. People sat in small groups, exhausted but lighter, as if a weight they hadn't known they carried had been lifted. The sun rose over Kuwala, illuminating Thembeka's name carved fresh into the baobab tree. Below it, someone had added words during the night. Temple loved us more than her own existence. This moment right here, this is why I make these videos. If you want more stories that hit this deep, subscribe and turn on notifications. Days passed. The healer's compound was cleaned and restored. The thatch replaced, the yard planted with healing herbs. Thembeka's journal was placed in a position of honor where visitors could read it. Naledi asked the elders if she could train as the village's new healer. After long discussion, Mama Zola spoke the words that settled the matter. If we refuse to let anyone follow in Thembeka's footsteps, we suggest her calling itself was cursed. But it wasn't the healing that brought tragedy. It was the desperate choice to use forbidden magic. If Naledi trains properly, she can honor Thembeka's gift without repeating her mistake. So Naledi's training began. She learned from Mama Zola and from Thembeka's journal. She learned about herbs and prayers, about patience and boundaries. Most importantly, she learned which doors should never be opened, no matter how desperate the circumstances. On the day she officially became the village healer, a ceremony was held at the baobab tree. Jibari placed his hands on his daughter's shoulders. Serve the people with love, but also with boundaries. Serve with compassion, but also with clear sight. Serve as Thembeka served, with your whole heart, but learn from her mistake to serve with wisdom too. I will honor her memory as an out. I will carry forward her gift, and I will teach what she taught us, that love is what. That evening, the village gathered again at the baobab tree for storytelling, a renewed nightly tradition. The elder appointed to tell the tale stood and began. Tonight, I will tell you how our village learned that secrets kept in fear are like wounds left uncleaned. They may be hidden, but they will fester. I will tell you how one young woman's courage to seek truth became the key that unlocked healing for an entire community. And and I will tell you about a healer named Tembeka. As the elder spoke, Tembeka's name on the tree caught the last rays of sunlight and seemed to glow with inner fire, permanent and honored at last. So what do we learn? In every community, there are stories too painful to tell, truths too heavy to bear. We convince ourselves that silence is protection, that what is not spoken cannot hurt. But secrets kept in fear do not preserve peace. They create invisible wounds that spread through generations. Tembeka's story teaches us that even our mistakes made from love deserve to be acknowledged honestly. Her error was born from desire to save lives. That doesn't excuse the danger she created, but neither does it erase the love that motivated her. The elders learned that secrets kept to protect people often cause more harm than the truth they hide. The children grew up sensing the gap in their stories, the hesitation in their elders' voices, the fear nobody would explain. Truth delayed is trust broken. The real healing began not when the sick were cured, but when Nilid forced the secret open and the truth was finally spoken. Only when Tembeka's name was restored, her story told in full, could the village properly grieve, learn, and honor what she had given.